So, good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of Make Some Noise with Doug Jong. And tonight we have a very, very talented lady on tonight. And she's going to be telling us about all the amazing rock stars she's worked with in the music industry and what other things she's done from the music industry has gone above and beyond. And that means by doing another business, taking it overseas on an executive level. So here she is,
Hi
Jane-Alicia
everyone. Hi, how you
Lepore.
going? That's it. Good stuff. Hi,
So here we
pleased
go.
to be here.
I'll just zoom you in there
Hi,
for a second.
hi.
So what can you
Hopefully
tell
I
us?
can. About me, well,
Yes.
I was in the music business for a long time, and eventually I moved on from that when I had my daughter, and was left wondering what on earth to do with myself because I had only known music. And I moved into what I'm now doing, which is kind of a specialty niche events business. And we provide candy buffets and candy art, candy um, to events and all sorts of sort of expos and functions and anything really, anything.
Yeah, right. Okay. I'll just remove myself from the stream. There we go. So, where it all started in the music world, and I'm going to multitask here for a second, I'm going to try and share this at the same time. So, can you tell us
Yeah.
about where it all started in the music scene here on the Gold Coast, right? Because you're on the Gold Coast here.
Yeah, I was. Well, actually, I started kind of late. I was pretty shy, and I had a boyfriend at the time who was a well-known pianist, and he'd heard me sing and set up secretly some singing lessons for me because he thought I should do it, and
Yep.
I went, and within a couple of weeks, the teacher had actually um, an audition that I could go to, and
Yeah.
I got the part straight away. So it was all pretty quick.
Are you
Um,
allowed to say what part you got in the audition, or?
yeah, I got a place in a band as a vocalist with Captain Wow, Nick Waters.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah,
so
he's still on
yeah,
the
that
scene. Good, Nick. Yeah. Wow.
he is. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I still get in touch with Nick, and so that yeah, that was short, probably only about 6 months to a year because they actually lived in Tasmania at the time, and they asked me to I wanted to move there to do that, and
Oh,
I
wow.
kind of wanted to stay put. So it took off from there. I kind of thought, well, that was my foot in the door, so um,
And then
kind of built
another
it from there.
corporate acts after that. What happened after that with your corporate bands?
Well, I actually started solo just in restaurants, and it grew from there to two-piece, to three-piece, to four-piece, right up to a 10-piece band. And that was
Wow.
when we were mostly, yeah, mostly doing just corporate work.
And are you allowed to say what name the band was? No?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, initially we were Pulse.
I think I remember seeing you guys at the casino or something back in the day.
Yeah, that's
Just a little
highly
long time
likely.
ago.
Is a maybe
Yeah.
a trio there.
Yeah, right.
So Pulse first off. Then it was Mojo for a while. And I even did a Latin thing for a little while
Oh.
as a band called Bomba because
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. Yeah,
half
cool.
half Latin. So, but
You are you
then
half Latin?
you yeah, I'm half Argentinian.
All right. Can you say hello in Argentinian?
Hola, ¿cómo
Oh,
estás?
okay. Maybe I should have asked a better words to say.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
I haven't actually ever heard you speak in another language. Can you say, "Hey, Doug, how are you?" or something?
Hola, I did before. Hola,
Oh,
Doug,
right.
¿cómo
Okay. Let
estás?
me. You parked the car in the driveway and I need to move it. How does that sound?
Oh, Jesus. No, I can't say that.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair
Uh,
enough. Okay. I get the point. You can speak another language.
I
Okay.
know how to
So
say
you did it.
the important things.
Okay. Important thing. So you've got so you had a Latin band, and so any other cool
Yeah.
bands after that, running in corporate bands?
No, no, the two main ones were Pulse and Mojo. I had an all-girl act. It wasn't really a band.
Oh,
It was a seven-piece Aphrodite for a while. Um, that was a real challenge to keep 7 young girls together and rehearsing. And so while I was doing that, actually at the same time I was moving into the business that I'm in now, and that kind of took off, so I couldn't really.
Yeah.
Hi Dale, how you going?
Yeah. Wow.
I
And
couldn't really focus on it.
understood. And then what about some of the? I know you mentioned Nick. What about some of the other musos you used to work with?
Oh, well, I've worked with a ton of amazing musicians over the years, and a lot of them have gone on to do amazing things afterwards. I did work with Daniel Amalm. He was, I don't know if you remember back, when Home and Away had that young
Oh.
guitarist. He was quite young
Oh.
on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a #1 hit in the late 90s here in the UK. Amazing guitarist. So we worked together for quite a few years. I worked with Bobby Allu. We go way back, actually. He was a percussionist for me for a long time. And
so Bobby Allu used to actually work for you.
yeah, he did. Yeah.
Oh wow, as a percussionist, yeah, wow, because he's going great guns now, right? Because he's got all his
He
original
is.
studio.
Yeah. He's just a natural, and has such a great work ethic, and a very nice guy. And he deserves all the success that he gets. He really does, because he always did such a great job. And he was drumming back then, and we gradually got him singing, because he's got a beautiful voice. If you've heard any of his stuff, you'd know. So check him out, guys, if you want to hear some nice coastal rhythms.
Yeah, cool. And then other people, like maybe other established bands you've worked with or supported?
Supported a lot of well-known bands, Black Sorrows, Pseudo Echo, Vanessa Amorosi, Marsha Hines. So we would be, I guess the opening act. They would do their act, and we would finish up the night as well. So.
Oh right, so that's called rapping in the business, right? Not like this kind of rapping, but do before and after sandwich. Sandwich is probably a better
I believe
terminology.
so, Doug. I'm really just agreeing with you. I have no idea.
All right, okay, cool. Maybe it's a Sydney thing, yeah. So, okay, cool. So after that, what happened? So after you've done, so obviously you're at the top of your game with the corporate stuff, and so how was the transfer of the skills that you used to go to, doing something else?
Well, initially it was a bit scary, because I sort of was like, it was all I knew. So I was like, what do I do? What do I do now? And it did happen gradually a little bit. It was a combination of things. I think, back when we had the issue with the GFC, the global financial crisis, as everyone would know, work started to diminish. It was like what once would be booked as a 5-piece, they were now, well, can you do a 4-piece? And then from there it was, can you do a 3-piece band? And so a lot of the good corporate work, the really good corporate work, was drying up. And at the same, roughly the same time, I had my daughter, and I was fairly burnt out, to be honest. I had done a lot of work in a busy period, and worked, sometimes 6 and 7 nights a week. And
wow.
I was needing to get away from it. And in fact, for a couple of years, I couldn't even listen to music. So I needed that break from it, and it sort of coincided with all of those other things. And what I found with gigging is the less gigs you do, the less gigs you get, because there's sort of a knock-on effect. You do one and they want you back, and they want you back, and someone saw you and they want you. And of course, when you're not doing it, you don't get those offers either. And and then it gets difficult to keep the band together, because You know, I mean, when we were full on gigging, we didn't need to rehearse unless it was a new song. And even then, it was
Right.
sort of, we'd do our own thing and we'd probably just do it in the sound check and we'd be fine. So it was, you know, it was more difficult to keep everyone together because I understood people needed to make a living, and so one would go on to do other things, and so then you'd be, you know, having to get other people in and not as tight as you were before and as a band, and so it all became quite difficult. And so I don't know whether it was a full-on conscious decision to move into something else, but I was contemplating it, obviously, thinking, what can I do? And I really didn't know. It was probably partially by accident because, yeah, I came across the idea of candy buffets and I sort of thought, I've never seen that here. And having performed at, you know, thousands of functions and never seen anything like that, knowing what those functions, how they work, what they want, I thought, I'm sure it would go well. And literally the same.
Sorry, I was just going to say that's great that, you know, drawing on your experience of playing in bands, you can see how the model of how the people all work together and what they want at a corporate event. Because usually a corporate event is like an upside down situation from a pub, where the pub starts like starts small and it grows, and it's busy by the end of the night. But the corporate function, it's the opposite, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So everyone's ready to go as soon as the band starts.
Yeah.
They want to be everyone wants to be partying right now, so you have to invert your set lists. But I just think that I was just commenting on your point there about you're seeing what hole in the market you could fill because you already know your targeted audience, right? Your clients.
Exactly. And there's a lot more to it, as anyone that's done corporate stuff before knows. There's a lot more to it than just being a musician and playing in a band. You know, they have all their requirements, their safety requirements. Your electrical leads have to be tagged. All those kind of little finicky things are important to corporate events. And so if you haven't got all those boxes ticked, they don't want to know you. And
next.
so, yeah, exactly. They don't need the problem. So, yeah, I had that advantage, I suppose. And also the contacts helped. You know, so initially when I started the candy business, I actually just got in touch with people I knew. And, you know, I aimed for the biggest, most prestigious events possible. And
that must be the rock star attitude. Yes, let's go. If you're going to do it, mate.
Absolutely. You know, start big. So happy accident in a way. It's not something I ever thought that I'd be doing, and I think in a way, part of the reason it's probably successful is because I have had to create the creative aspect of it, because I need something creative. I need something creative and I need something challenging. And I think that's probably a trait of a lot of musicians and a lot of entertainers.
It's an addiction. It's an addiction for an outlet, right? It's not,
Yeah, absolutely. So that element's in there, thankfully. And I think that, you know, it's given us the point of difference between anyone else that tries to do it as well. I think my earphones are already starting to go.
Are they? Do you have any?
I can find some. I can run off, but I'll leave it till they go.
Okay. Well, we'll go. But if anyone's watching and anyone has any questions, please let us know. Oh, we got someone on the line here now. But so I guess doing the gigs, Marshall, I'll be with you in a sec. But I guess doing the corporate events, actually sorting out and dealing with clients, I guess it's almost like doing a gig. You need to get there early, set up the thing, engage with the people. Like it's actually, you have to be engaging with your clients, just, you know, as any entertainment person full stop does. And maybe you have to like change the way that the candy is displayed, etc.
Oh, absolutely. It was all customized. Yeah. And we brand it That's a very big corporate thing. I don't know whether that would tie in with music at all, but I think it's about also being able to be flexible and spontaneous, which bands have to be as well. You know, if the sound's not doing the right thing, you got to go with it, and you got to make the show must go on, kind of thing. And you've got to make your client as comfortable as possible, and not let them know that there's any issue going on with anything. And that applies for both music and what I do now.
Yeah, right. And because for those who don't know you, obviously, because your target audience is a candy buffet. I mean, I know, as you've told me, you're actually the top of your game, or Janie's, I should say, Janie's at the top of her game doing this. Can you maybe let the cat out of the bag, because you actually went international with your business concept, and maybe someone should dob you in for like businesswoman of the year or something? And I'm not joking on that. Can you maybe tell the people what you've done internationally, because this is just dead set amazing.
Well, when I started it, I aimed locally, of course, and it went really well. So, and that was Gold Coast. So then I expanded to Brisbane, which was easy, and then kind of thought, well, you know, I don't want to be doing all this myself anyway, so I have to come up with a way that other people can do it for me. Agents or not, in respect to music,
or getting these gigs.
Good question. If it's a good agent, yes. If they're getting you the kind of work that you want, and if they're paying you on time, and looking after you in general.
So from that's cool. And then from Brisbane, how did you expand internationally?
Well, I started with New Zealand, and I set up a team in every capital city in Australia first, and once that was up and running, yeah.
And so, those who don't know about business, that's actually quite difficult, right? You know, what's that called? Franchisee-ship, right? Franchisee. Did I just make? Well,
they aren't franchises. I still maintain control over it all. It's probably my, you know.
Okay, sorry, I was just using it as an adjective, not a noun.
Yeah. But it is very difficult, and there's a lot of hurdles to jump, and staff issues, and all kinds of issues, all kinds of things.
Right.
So, and that, of course, only just is exaggerated when it's overseas, and particularly somewhere like London, which we expanded to in July last year. Thank you. That was exciting. Our first event there was the Silverstone Grand Prix Ball, which is the most prestigious event in London.
So in English, that's the Formula One, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So that's amazing. That's like seriously amazing. So you were at the Grand Ball, which is the main event for the main racing event.
It is. Yeah. That's right.
That's pretty cool for one person in the Gold Coast. You know?
Well, no, I have teams everywhere, so it's definitely not just me.
All right, okay. But it has to start with an idea, yeah, right? So on the phone, are you like Mrs. Bossy Lady, like, what are you doing? You know, like...
I pretend to be boss lady quite often.
Fair enough. And
I probably fall into the lazy CEO category more than that.
Well, you know, you got to start somewhere. But that's amazing. That's dead set amazing. And where from here? So you've done like the biggest event, and obviously COVID's hit. I guess that's probably literally everything's. You know, I was asked when it first started, how's this affected you? And I've gone, oh, not at all. No, everything's going great. And literally within one day, everything was cancelled. Everything. So it'll start again when it starts again. Who knows when? None of us know, do we? Yeah. Wow. Well, I guess there's quite a lot of people in the same boat, right? I've got a few questions. Sorry, trying to multitask here. I've got a couple of questions, and I've got a guest that's going to pop on in a second. So anyone else got any more questions watching? There's 20 people watching. Yay. Please post up a question. And we're racing the battery in Janie's phone. And so here we go. What is the best tip that you can give musicians in marketing?
Well,
Do you have?
now I would say now, I would say that you need to be all over social media, and make sure you've got good packages of videos and photographs. Simple as that, because the first impression anyone's ever going to get of anything is what they see.
Right, visual is king.
Yeah, absolutely.
And another question from Terry: what has been the hardest aspect to your career?
So my music career,
Yeah,
or
well, let's go with music first.
the hardest aspect was not being able to do what we could do, from silly restrictions. I think, venue politics mostly,
Right.
where the 18-year-old manager's standing 2 centimeters away from his speaker with his dB meter and telling you to turn down, and you can already hear people's footsteps on the dance floor, but they want you to pump it up. It was that sort of thing that would really frustrate me, because you couldn't do what you could do. That was the most challenging thing.
Mm. And I just thought there, with transfer of skills, running a band. If anyone can run a band, anyone can run a business, right? Because the amount
Absolutely.
of
Running a band is running a business, and that's how you've got to look at
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
I've had many of stories. I had years ago. I had a drummer ring me up. Hey man, I'm in the courthouse. I've just been arrested. So I was like, okay, this is going to be an interesting gig. So rock and roll. But we do have Marshall in the background here, and
Hi,
ready
Marshall.
for his question. Here he is, just about to drop.
Oh,
There he is.
God. There we go.
Hey,
Oh,
Marshall.
hello.
Hey,
Hi.
how you
How you
going?
doing?
Good. I have a great question. What would you do differently now
What would
in
I do
market?
differently?
Yeah, in marketing yourself.
In marketing myself, I would definitely write more music.
Okay.
Yeah, original.
Yeah.
No, that was a joke. That was a joke. You can't write covers, so no, really bad joke. That's the oldest joke in the book. What kind of music will you write?
You got me.
I am actually envious here.
Do you have any other
Thanks,
questions, Marshall?
you.
No, I'm envious because you did the Formula One. I mean, that's my ultimate passion. So besides music,
Yeah.
so there we go.
We were supposed to be there again this July, but it's not happening.
Wow.
Yeah. But I must say again, that is dead set amazing. Setting the goal and just making it happen, and remote managing any team site. I've got a background in IT, and I mean, just getting people to reset a computer was difficult.
Remote managing it is
remotely.
tricky. Yeah, and especially when the hours are so completely different. When it's in London, it's like I'm there at 4 a.m. having to think very clearly how to solve problems. There was a question there, was it?
Terry's just saying what he's doing. I'm giving free streaming in Ipswich next few weeks at our venue. Use
That's a
5
plug.
TV. Cool, man.
Oh, thanks,
That's a
Terry.
So, any other questions, Marshall, for Jane?
So
Yeah.
what are you going to do when it all comes back online? Are you going to continue doing what you're doing before, or are you going to start a whole
Hopefully,
new?
hopefully I'll continue. I actually am, because my business is quite well set up now, and I do want to. My next goal is USA, but other than that, I do want to get back into the music side of things, and so I have fairly recently teamed up with a very successful and well-known artist manager, Graham Ashton, and I'm working with him. He's basically showing me the ropes as far as artist management goes, because that's where I'd like to move into next. So I wanted to have my business set up and running how I needed it to be, so that I've got that going and I've got that income, and then I can move into that area.
I'm hearing that right. You want to come back to music?
Yeah, of course.
So what does everyone think? Should we let her back in? Maybe
No.
make her come in.
Okay. Song list.
Sorry,
not
Marshall.
me. No, not me. I want to manage other artists.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to be in the music business?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. And Marshall, what were you going to say? Oh,
yeah,
you missed it.
Because I came in late. I'm sorry, Janie, missed a bit of it, but I'll look in the replay. Is that so? What? So you don't want to do sing anymore? You're just going to actually manage artists?
I miss singing a lot. However, I don't don't know that I'd go back to what I was doing before.
That was my question. What would you do differently now if you were going to go back singing?
Oh, what would I do differently now? Ah,
Come on, you can do it.
well,
Drum roll.
Wait. I don't know what I'd do differently. Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to go with the flow a little bit with that, because I think sometimes that's to do with the creative side of it. And I don't know that you can push it. I think you kind of got to let that develop on its own.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, wow.
So I don't know what I'd do differently, to be honest. I know that I probably wouldn't do venues that I hated being at.
Yeah.
That's about it, really.
It'd be great if you could like press a reset button and do it again freshly, wouldn't it? But I used to manage performing arts centres and stuff in Sydney and here, and I know that once you get stuck into that, you use all your wonderful experience for the new artists and blah 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 blah. But the thing is that something always in the background is always going, oh, if I did this or if I did that,
How you feel?
So I'm just wondering,
I feel that way about my original music. In fact, my live performance in a way was a little bit of a distraction from that, because we were really successful at that and working so often that I didn't really have the time to put into writing my own stuff like I would have liked.
Have you recorded a lot of that?
I've recorded a little bit, yep.
Yeah. Doug? More recording?
Yes, I've been actually recording my new record here at the moment. You can probably see I'm going to get my head
I can recognise all that tracks already.
But I do have I have a question here for you, Jane.
Yes.
Hi everyone, Phil here from New Zealand. When you have a package to market, what's from New Zealand? Hi, Phil from New Zealand. When you have a package to market, what sites would you target? So I guess maybe platforms he means, or I'm not sure. Are you aware of Bandcamp, and also there's another one, Reverb Nation? Do you know that one? Yeah. Do you know what those are yet? I'm sure when you get into more... Sorry, you go.
Oh, I was going to say that I think marketing's different now to most of what I did.
Okay.
Because cool. I think I had to establish myself. Well, when I established myself and the bands that I managed, it was a long time ago. And once you are established, the agents do know you, and you don't really have to do that anymore. So it's actually been a long time since I've really had to promote myself musically. Yeah. I would have to now if I went back into it, but I haven't had to for a long time. So it's tricky because the scene's really changed in the way that you would probably, like what websites would you target? Oh, I wouldn't even know what websites to target, to be honest.
Okay, for original stuff. And I guess with the business idea and the business ethic that you have to, command and conquer and go straight to straight overseas, what schooling up or educative devices did you get across to actually try and market yourself to go to, eventually over to New Zealand? Not New Zealand. Well, you did go to New Zealand, but England as well.
Yeah. Sorry, what's the question?
Yeah, what did you study? Like, did you actually how did you have a mentor or someone, or how did you get to go take your business overseas?
I taught myself everything. Thank God for Google. If there was something I didn't know, I would Google it, or I would just work out the best way to do it. A lot of trial and error. It did, it's successful now, but there was a lot of stuff in between. So, it is very important being online. One mistake I made, and I think it comes from a personal place for me, was that I didn't pay enough attention to any competitors. I kind of thought, no, I concentrate on what I'm doing. I don't need to know what they're doing. And in the meantime, all my competitors were copying me and watching us, watching the brand. So I would do that differently in that respect. I would make sure that I would watch competitors and keep my eye on what other people are doing as well, especially ones that are doing well and successful. Everyone's left me.
Yeah, no,
Where are
we're still
you?
watching.
No,
We're
that's
still
good. It's good. It's good watching you.
watching. So,
Oh no.
so when you say keep an eye on your competitors, do you mean? I think there's is that someone playing bass? Marshall, shh.
Stop it.
When you're, I was like, is that my headphones? It's like just played a major arpeggio. It's like, oh wow.
Bass noise.
Yeah. So when you say being aware of your competitors, I mean even on Instagram and Facebook, you can see like things change weekly. I mean, even this whole talk show, 2 weeks ago, I wasn't doing this. I've just, keep my eyes and ear to the ground and just do something new. Let's produce a TV show. But
Yeah.
but what tips can you give about, monitoring what your competitors are doing? Do you like take notes, or how do you test or observe their engagement? How do you know?
You pretend to be a customer. So
Okay.
No, I don't mean
okay.
no, I don't mean that you like call them and pretend you're a customer. Although I wouldn't say that I haven't done that.
Okay. Okay.
I'm meaning you think like a customer. So you're after, as far as music goes. I'm a venue manager, and I'm looking for a band. What am I looking for? You got to think like that. You got to think like the other person, so you know who you're selling to.
Ah, right. Okay, cool. Understanding your client. Yeah, very well done. That's good. And I'll just see if there's anyone else got any questions that's watching, please post them up. And you got any more questions there, Marshall?
No, I'm spellbounded by the great management.
Yeah, right. Okay. Oh, fair enough. I'm just trying to multitask. I need to be like you, be able to multitask all over the shop here. I might have someone else dropping on very shortly.
Kick me off.
Swap you over.
I'm going to need to get some more headphones. So I got one. There's one. One's gone. And I'm deaf as it is.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Maybe a couple more questions then is, I might just swap you. I'll put you in the back room there for a sec, Marshall. Oh, sorry. I should have probably listened to what Marshall's going to say. Sorry, Marshall. Sorry. So maybe we've only got a few minutes left. I'm just going to see if Rob is around while we're doing this. So can you maybe explain a rock and roll horror story? Thing just went absolutely wrong.
Oh. Yeah. Apart from the ones that I can't mention.
Well, maybe no names or places, but just the.
Even without the names and the places. Oh well, there's no real apart from those. There's no real horror stories.
Like a Spinal Tap moment when everything went wrong at worst possible moment.
I did have a sax player turn up with a mohawk at the Sheraton Mirage once. That was interesting.
Oh, okay, cool. So that probably went well with corporate clients.
Yeah, it goes down really well.
Yeah.
No real horror stories that I can think of. It's just the usual thing. Maybe someone not turning up, or I had a bit of a 2-drink limit in the band, so people wouldn't, and so I wouldn't start telling jokes on stage.
And what about your best moment? Oh, well, hang on. Well, Terry's thinking like me. Here we go. What about the best moment in music?
My best moments, that's an easy one, actually. It was the first song I ever wrote, and it had somehow made its hands into, I can't remember if it was someone from CFM or someone, I think it was CFM radio.
Yeah.
And I was in a shop shopping, and suddenly started bopping away and singing to the song, to the realization that it was actually my song on the radio. And as soon as I realized, I started screaming and jumping up and down, and the woman in the shop said, "Oh, do you like this song?" And I said, "No, it's my song. It's my song." And she goes, "Oh, that's nice, dear." She didn't believe my word. Did not believe me. So
Are you allowed to
Yeah.
say what that song was? Radio released?
That was Closer to You.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And you're the credited. Were you actually singing the song, or you wrote the song?
Yeah. I wrote and sang it.
And what was your artist name back then?
It was Jordan.
Ah,
Mm.
Jordan the artist. Okay, cool.
Just
There
to
you go.
confuse things. Yeah,
I
yeah.
so it was like an AKA, also known as. Terry
Mm.
said something. If I was going to have a song sum up with life, what would it be? And I've got someone else on the line here. I'll get back to you. Sorry, Terry.
Oh.
We're going to got someone to drop in here. Captain Rob, how you going, sir?
Hey, good. How are you, other hand?
Hi, Rob. How you going?
Hey, Jane, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Nice
So,
to meet
Rob,
you.
Rob's a bit of a legend, and he also has similar experience managing people. I don't know if you caught the beginning, Rob, but Janie was in music, is running an international remote or candy business, and maybe I just get you to chime in here because you've done venue management before and about the difficulties in managing people and some of the life lessons you've learnt and how that has transferred to running a band. That's a big question. Sorry.
Well, yeah. I think it's identifying potential issues.
Yeah.
Always being able to kind of predict what the future holds.
Crystal
We couldn't
ball.
really predict what's happening right now and what has happened, but definitely being able to see the road ahead and plan for it is a really good skill to have. And that is
The
also
problem ahead.
Yeah, and identifying personalities and how to deal with them best. Some people like tough love, and other people like to be like, hugged along the way.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's a good point. Yeah.
having all those skills to identify personality types is also a really good skill to have.
Mm.
And is that transferred, Janie, to you as well, like remote management?
100%. Absolutely. I have a team of, I have a lot of people because obviously location-wise, I need people everywhere. And you're right. Some people will respond to a certain way of you dealing with them and others won't. So it takes a little bit of teething to get that right. But once you do, then it helps. I've tried to implement systems so that it's almost impossible for problems to happen. They still do, but in this day and age, with the technology, you can literally almost be there on site, even though you're not physically on site.
Yeah.
Communication is the most important thing, isn't it? Like clear communication.
Yeah, and with and Jane's going to be getting back into the business once we get a business back, I guess, with artist management. And so Rob has a lot of experience with marketing, and a question came up before, Rob, about what's the best way to market yourself these days. So just get your 2 cents in there. Maybe Jamie, you can chime in.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Are we talking pre or post COVID?
Well, maybe post, I guess. Well, maybe pre. Let's go pre because we actually have a handle on that. So,
well, product is important, first and foremost. And hey, I'm not an expert from the bottom up because it's just convincing a venue to take a risk, take a gamble on you. I've always been terrible at promo, like really terrible off the bat for a band, but I will give to the gab. I'll get in the door, and then the rest is up to me and the band then to do the hard work. So just really being able to sell yourself to someone is a huge skill.
some
We can
personality.
all exactly, and we can all have these beautiful promo videos where everything is done in the studio. And there's just, to me, there's not a lot of personality to that. I want to see kind of it a bit more raw and a bit more honest.
Okay, that's interesting. That's good.
But that's from a pub perspective. corporate is obviously, and weddings and that sort of stuff, that's so different. People want to be wowed.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what you're selling, as to what and how you target your marketing.
Yeah.
But post, it's anybody's guess. I think at the moment we're all just trying to stay relevant and in people's faces, service our fan base at the moment for free with our, obviously some of us are getting...
It's an investment, right? It's an investment, because if you don't invest in your fans, where will they be, right?
Yeah,
and I guess it'd be the same as with Janie, like with your customers. Do you stay in touch with your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And through any other means besides just personal communication, or do you send any other marketing?
Well, actually, I kind of try and involve my products as much as possible. And that's, I suppose it's easy with what I do. We're moving into retail soon. And that was actually happening before the whole COVID thing. We wanted to set up a retail side of things online.
Wow.
So corporate gifts, candy gifts. So I do like to thank my customers, and everybody loves candy pretty much. There might be a 0.05% that don't, but so I will try and send them my products. So, it makes them happy, but at the same time, you're reminding them who you are.
And I like what you're just saying there. You're actually getting another, multiplying the layers of your business by adding a retail thing. So coming back into band land, when you're managing an artist, what I've seen in the States is exactly this. You have to multiply your access. So yes, you do gigs, then you do, clinics, but now it's all, every artist is accessible, just on Twitter. You can, talk to whoever you want directly, so I guess a lot of artists it's their personality behind it. So I like what Rob was saying before about you have to show your personality to stay relevant.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Although I do think at the end of the day, when it comes to music, in particular original music, it's all about the music. At the end of the day, you can shout it from the rooftops, but if people don't want to listen to it, they won't want to listen to it. So it's your craft that's important, and writing and writing and writing and writing and getting it out there. I don't think you need to sell a good song. I think it sells itself. But this is the original side of things that we're talking about, because cover band's completely different.
Right. Okay. And what do you think about, have you had any business in originals before, Rob?
I've done a couple of EPs, but it's never really worked out, whether it's been the band or anything. There's always been some problem.
Rock and roll.
Well, I kind of get excited about a project, and if it's not ticking all the boxes, I kind of walk away. I find it really hard to stay engaged if I'm not engaged in it. So it's that whole thing that Eddie Van Halen said, if I don't like it, how can I expect anybody else to like it? So to me, I've, as an original artist in the past, I've struggled with identity, and that comes down to marketing as well. Is if you're this sort of happy, flamboyant, funny guy in real life, and then I tend to write kind of a bit more serious music, then the stage act and the music don't marry up, and it doesn't work. And it hasn't worked for me because my taste in music doesn't really suit my personality, and I've really struggled with that. It's something that I'm working on in this downtime, who I want to be. But right now, I'm sort of so far away from it that it's really difficult to even sit down and write without that clear sort of idea in front of me.
Yeah, right. Okay. Oh, says, as a punter, I don't like originals. We sing along to dance. Okay, fair enough. That's cool. And we were talking about mentors before, because Rob's got a background in running a venue, he runs a very successful tribute show, and I'm a fan. I've actually seen it. and I'm actually, you know what? I'm actually a fan of Rob, full stop, because we talk offline about tech all the time. So doing new things. Mentorship. So actually learning the ropes of business. So with Jane's story, She went from Gold Coast, Brisbane, every capital city, Australia, New Zealand, and straight over to Formula One in England, which is just phenomenal, right? Because running a remote site anywhere is out of control. So, and I think your answer, Jane, was that to learn the ropes, you did it all self-learning. So, Rob, my question to you is you know, you got to learn this from somewhere. So, did you have a mentor about running a successful act, or was it all, you know, you just learnt the ropes on the grind?
It is. It's self-taught. You learn along the way. Even just some of the internal training courses within the hotel industry that we all had to learn as managers and venue managers, that goes a long way to just putting processes in place, because that's really all it is. It's and it's having a work ethic, a really strong work ethic, where if you wake up, a lot of musicians will go, I like to have Monday off. You know, I'm just going to take Monday for myself. But in the height of everything that's going on, that's a missed opportunity. That's a possible hole in the calendar later in the year.
Right.
So I wouldn't take Mondays off. I might work till 3:00 and then take Monday afternoon off. But it was always following up with venues, following up with clients, set lists, learning songs, whatever. It's all about the work you put in comes back at the back end. So that was sort of what I was taught in the hotel thing. It's 90-day plans. It's planning annual events. So come up with a great idea and make sure you can sell it every subsequent year. And if you can do that, you can shore up your calendar for years to come.
Right. You remind me of Miles Copeland. Miles Copeland is Stuart Copeland's brother from the Police. And Miles Copeland coined the name of the band, the Police. And Miles Copeland is a genius marketing guy. And when I met him, he swore at me quite profusely. Said, hello. And he goes, I don't give a F who you are. I want to know what you do and where you come, and on who you are and what you do. And so I told him. And he goes, are you going to back that up? So I just walked straight on stage and, you know, played guitar, and then that was the rest of it. But what I learned from that lesson is he's very, very brutal about who you are and what you do. And so getting to the marketing idea of the Police, he says, it's a genius idea. Everyone's got, you know, my band in their country called the Police, right? Anyway, he moves to the next thing about don't go after the same thing. So everyone was after record contracts, so he went after TV commercials. Hence the Police have their own, like Sunnies back in the 80s, they all had blonde hair. The next thing, getting to the calendar, how you can gauge your success is by your calendar, because maybe that's where the next income is coming from, right? So if you need to check your calendar. So I like what you said about checking your calendar, and long-winded thing. Next point is Elon Musk. Are you both aware of Elon Musk?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I watched this thing with Dan Pena at the moment. I don't know if you know who that guy is. You need to check him out. I'm into YouTube. London Real. Check out London Real. He's banging on about if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to go, missed opportunity. So sorry, Veronica, I'll get back to that in a second. No downtime, like 100 hours a week, sleep at work, no downtime. So my question is, do you have you had any sleepless nights before because you've been so excited about getting the job done, Jane?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I have many sleepless nights, whether it be being excited or sorting out crisis, or absolutely. Yeah, you've got to work hard, and I think that's why you've got to have the elements that you love in whatever you do, whether it be music or not.
And what about yourself, Rob? Sleepless nights?
I struggle a lot turning my brain off. So very early in my life, I discovered talkback radio, and and I would just have the headphones under my pillow loud enough for me to hear, and it just turns my brain to something else to concentrate on, and then I can sleep soundly for 7 or 8 hours. Now we've got podcasts and audio books, so I've got those. But yeah, it's always been about silencing my brain so I can sleep, and that's the only thing I've found that works.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that 100%.
I find I get a second wind, when I come home in the afternoon or whatever, I go, oh, I really sleep, but then 9 o'clock, ding, stay up, do another second shift until like 2 o'clock, and then have 4 hours sleep and go, oh yeah, this is not so bad, then have to do it all over again. So maybe a couple more questions did we have here? This is for Rob. Maybe your unique style could be a blend somewhere between maybe blues, music, and uplifting words. Unique is trending again. There you go, Rob. Veronica is your fan for original music. There we go.
Well, that's in my wheelhouse. Prince, Stevie Wonder. I'd love to do like a blues funk thing. I think I'm more, as I get older, all I want to do is make people dance. So if you can combine the rock of Queen with the danceability of James Brown, I'm in.
Awesome. Here we go. We all know that events cost, so we do look for cash to run an event. Okay, fair enough. Oh, do you actually? That's a question.
Where do you look for cash? Corporate.
Right. So they're a different breed, right? Yeah. Because it's all about. So that was for Phil. So in my experience of corporate, this actually happened. I was in I still am every now and then in a Eagles tribute show, and we actually did a gig, and it was corporate. And this event we didn't play Hotel California to see if anyone noticed, and it's funny, no one noticed. So
oh no,
yeah.
Oh
anyway,
wow,
that was funny.
Well, you don't know what they were saying about you afterwards.
Okay, could PayPal donation-based virtual live gigs bring enough cash for startups during?
Nobody knows. Maybe.
I had a friend actually on this country singer from Sydney, Jamie Lindsay.
Yep.
He just did online ticketed event that was sold out. I think it was his second sold out one. So I haven't had a chance to ask him how many tickets that was for, but he seems to be having some success with it. Again, it will come down to ticket price, but yeah.
Rob, did he actually broadcast that from home with his own tech, or did he outsource it?
From what I know, he's got a little home production studio, and he just did it from there. Yeah.
With a keyboard on the floor as well.
How good was that?
That's amazing. So I'm actually still working that out. So Jane, just to fill you in, Rob's been showing me some tech about using multicam, because I actually got I got this camera going, and I've just bought a cable for it, and I want to do exactly the same. But yeah, so this sounds pretty lavish, but Rob's already got this going, is having multi-cams while you're doing a broadcast, live broadcast. Yeah. So that's my mission.
This is my foot controller.
Hey, you've upgraded it, man. You've upgraded it.
Yeah. What are the green things? Green. Put your toe here.
Yeah, that's right. So the little candy topper things, they kept sticking the space bar down.
Oh.
So these are like little cable ties that I've folded so they don't hold the keyboard down, and just blue tacked them to the keyboard.
You do whatever it takes in the beginning, whatever it takes. Yeah.
And it's on the floor, and I just step on it with my massive feet and hope that it works.
I've got a question for I guess you guys and anyone out there. And it's something personal for me, because I often feel it. And so, like Dougie, you were introducing me tonight, and I was kind of thinking, oh my God, no, that's not me. Like, wow. I suffer from imposter syndrome, because I guess because I'm always just trying to pull something off that I haven't done before, and, winging it kind of thing. I believe it's probably really common in the music industry, because we all start somewhere and we've got to.
Oh, I think we've lost you, Jane. We've lost your audio. I think your headphones are going. But if you want to sort that out, I'll just be creative and I'll answer your question, but you probably won't hear what I'm saying. I just pulled her out. So maybe, Rob, do you want to go first about that? Imposter syndrome. How do you battle that?
Yeah.
Insecurities 101.
Dude, I battle that every day. I battle it with self-deprecation.
Yeah, at least you're honest. That's good, man.
And procrastination.
Times two.
And I think I have this absolute need. I actually want to fail. Like, we all want to fail, right? So we learn our lesson, and so we put ourselves in positions where we're just flying by the seat of our pants, and we just want to have that failure to then, just so you can say to yourself, see, I knew I didn't belong here. You know, I knew it was bound to fail because I didn't put the work in. Or
so you can justify the headspace, the negative headspace. Yeah,
and then you could give yourself a kick in the butt or whatever. But yeah, it is. I think all musicians, to a certain extent, are insecure, but I think you have to. The thing that I really had to work on in the last couple of years was taking compliments from people.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't let that sink in.
Don't let it go to your head, but understand taking a compliment from somebody is, man, it's a great thing. And to not take it and be self-deprecating, people can see that as an insult. I've found that on a couple of occasions where I pulled myself up, where someone would go, "Oh man, you're amazing," and I would go, you know, I'm just a hack. And then they take it like, "Oh, well, then you don't think I know what I'm talking about."
Right. They take that as an intelligence check. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you just have to go, "Oh, I'm so glad you got something out of it. Thank you so much for coming up." Take the compliment, but stay humble. Yeah, I don't know if I've gone off track from that question.
No. Well, that's good, because I was actually going to add to it. I think she's there in the background there. And I've just got a comment here before I answer it. Faking it till you make it is actually doing it, not faking it. That's a good point. Yeah. So change your internal perspective by changing your self-talk. Manifest your own magnificence. That's well said there, Veronica. I must say too, like, doing my first Facebook Live was actually really nerve-wracking, because like once it goes to tape, well, that's just my lingo. Once it goes out in the digital world, it's it. Like, so I, on purpose, as some of you've seen my live streams, here's Janie there. Are you back in? No, she's still doing technical things. Yeah, I had to really get into the headspace to enjoy what I'm doing, but I must say, it never ends. I mean, sometimes I watch videos of myself and I was like, oh wow, wish I could play like that, because when you're in the state of flow, right, you're not thinking what you're doing, you're in the state of being. And I was like, oh wow, that's really, really cool. But I still battle it, as we all do. And getting about what you were saying about being an original artist, and I've got Marshall in the background. We could probably drop him in a sec if you want to get ready, Marshall. And I also wanted to make a point about what you're saying, identifying as an artist, original versus covers versus original versus covers, which way forward. So I'm in the same boat, because I really just want to do original stuff, but my bread and butter is, as everyone did, is starting out doing covers. And I must just drop Marshall in here for a sec while we wait for Jane. So, hey Marshall, you got some lights on there? How you going there?
There we go. How's that? Hey,
there we go.
Rob, thanks for your transparency, mate. Fantastic.
No worries, man.
It is so hard to take a compliment. It really is. Because sometimes you can actually become a bit suspicious, like, are they really true, or are they really? Because you're an artist, you always, and especially when they say it, you've been charged from the gig, so you're really on a high, and you don't know what's real or not. But it is. I think that is a motivation thing in itself. From people complimenting, and also the imposter syndrome we talked about before. That is a motivational thing, but it can let it bury you pretty fast, because we're all feeling musicians.
Yeah. Because Jane was a little bit nervous just before we started. I was like, what? What you're doing is amazing. Like, yeah, you go, Rob.
That makes you, it shows that you care. I think
that's a good point.
Everybody wants you to feel like you're in the moment, that you care, that you're feeling something, and nervousness, and wanting to do your best is it's a great trait to have, because, man, I've just started to get nervous again at gigs, like with these live streams.
Yeah. I think we all are, right?
You're like, okay, I've got all
I'm about
this
to
tech I've
start.
done. Wow, well, good luck, man. Good luck.
I'm shitting myself. Don't worry.
But you just go, oh, am I going to have people tune in? Is there going to be 2,000 people watching? What if I make a mistake? And you kind of can go down that rabbit hole, but you have to let it go. And you just, to me, it's right before I press that button going live. It's that feeling of when I was a teenager playing my first gig, and you're like, oh, I'm short of breath. I got to sing in 30 seconds. Okay, and then press play, and then you welcome everybody and blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden, first note. Okay, I've prepared for this. I'm all right. I'm good to go. Now I can get into the swing of it. But yeah, there is that exhilaration that's sort of back with this platform that we're all on, which is great.
And Veronica says here, showing your human side is on these virtual live gigs is helping everyone feel connected. Very, very true. I must say, when I saw Keith Urban's live stream in his, I don't know, his shed or warehouse of some descript, and he played one of his songs to his track, and he played a bum note. I was like, okay, cool, man. Like,
but he laughed. He just he had a big smile on his face and he laughed. It was so great.
But it's just being, I mean, as we all, well, I'm sure we've all recorded, you know, sometimes this epic solo doesn't go down the first take, you know, and that's the truth. That's not, you know, but sometimes, having said that, my best solo might be the first take, you know, even if it is the bum note. And that's, you know,
that's live, though.
But yeah, the funny thing that's happening is with recording back in the day using tape, this is what it was like. You would just do your first take and they would pick the best take, warts and all, right? And then, you know, digital processing, post, I'm talking about, you make the perfect recording. And now we're back to where we were, like mistakes and all. Like it's one-shot recording, and it's sort of funny.
It's quite fun. That Eddie Van Halen, the jump solo, they pasted 3 takes together to make that solo.
Comped it.
Yeah, like old cutting tape. And then I think in Lukather's book, when he did the solo to Rosanna, he had all those guys in the studio, like the hottest cats, the LA cats in the studio watching him. And the boys in Toto said, oh, mate, the heat's on, you better get this right. And he nailed the first take, you know? And he's got Lee Retner and Michael Landau and all these guys, Ray Parker Jr. in the studio. I think that's what and he just, he was crapping himself. He was 20 years old, but then he backed himself and went for it, you know, and first take.
I'll just see if Janie's ready to drop on. Jane, do you want to turn your mic? Are you not ready? You want to turn your mic on? You've got it on mute. Turn your mic on mute. I can do that. No, I can't do it. You have to do it on screen. Yeah, and what about Marshall? Do you have any butterfly stories about imposter syndrome? Because
every night I do a gig, mate.
Oh no! Well, I just got to say for those people watching, Marshall actually used to play Dave Leslie from the Baby Animals. So, you know, you're no slouch, man. And I've done some gigs with Marshall, so you're a bit of a legend, man.
I am a legend. There you go, Rob. I'm a legend, mate.
Excellent.
Is it working, Jane?
Hey, Jane, you're back.
Oh, cool.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, you can't hear anything? Yes, you're back.
I can hear you guys, but it's not coming through the headphones. I got like the laptop wouldn't plug into the other headphones, and the connection's different. And I've been running around the house like a lunatic.
That's all right. Well, you can maybe drop on a phone, or if you just pull out your headphones, and then can you hear the sound then? Can you hear us now? Testing 1, 2.
I can hear it. Like, is there a problem?
You'll just have to turn your mute on and off when we speak. That's all.
When you guys speak.
I think we got network connections now. Issues. Are you okay? Well, Marshall, do you want to finish your story?
Where were we? Sorry.
Yeah, so you're talking about. So you played with Dave Leslie from Baby Animals, and we're talking about butterfly stories, imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, and before that, I used to work with a band that you probably remember, Rob, a band called Electric Pandas. I was a bass player in that band as well. And like butterfly stories. Just you know, you rehearse all week, and suddenly, you know, you're about to go on the stage, and you've got problems, you know, with sound checks and stuff, and it's like, you know, or you are just focused that you're going to learn the gig and do your harmonies and stuff, and you walk up and bang, you got no monitors. That's fantastic, you know. It's like, and you got the record company going, mate, new bass player, fantastic, incredible. You're just going, oh wow, this is great. But I mean, it's all about backing yourself, as Rob said. You know, the thing of backing yourself, knowing you can just do your best like every time. You know, that's the one.
I once had a serious situation. I was doing a gig at Gil Hooley's at Chermside back in the day. I think this clapping gif is from Marshall. He. There you go. That was for you, Marshall. I was doing a solo and I snapped a string of some script, and I had a look at the back of my amp during the solo, as you do, multitasking, and I had no strings. So I was like, oh, got strings in the car. So I said, drum solo. Do you think I could find the strings on my car? I was out there for like a good 5 minutes in the car park while the bass player and the drummers just going nuts. And it's funny now, but at the time they were going to kill me because I was out there, because I was the lead singer and the guitar player. And there were still people on the dance floor. I'm surprised they stayed there. But anyway, Janie, if you can hear us now, we were just covering about your imposter comment, and we're just talking about some horror stories of gigs and how to get over. How do you get over this situation of feeling like an imposter?
I just keep going. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. But it's just it's something personal, something I don't often talk about, and I certainly don't let on to anyone that, I mean, when I was establishing in the UK and chatting to the people from the Jong, I almost couldn't believe it when we got booked for it.
That's amazing.
It was all just a game to start off with. It's like, that's the biggest event in the history of London. I'll go for that one.
Stop big.
So when it happens, it's a little bit like, oh God, I've got to pull this off now. And that's when you panic a little bit. But I don't let on to anybody. I just keep going. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. And I think Rob, I don't know if Rob wants to chime in here, but Rob was saying it keeps your humility. I don't know if you just want to repeat a couple of things that you said there, Rob, to Jane.
Yeah, it just keeps you grounded. If you're super confident all the time, and it also doesn't allow you to see your shortcomings and your mistakes.
Yeah.
I think being, I said before, I think it's honest to be a little bit insecure, and people see you own your mistakes or whatever. But the fact that you can overcome that is such a human thing to do, to be faced with adversity and still go onward anyway.
Yeah.
It's a great quality that we have.
And I think what Veronica said there, if I just pull it up here, here we go. For Jane here, it says, faking it till you make it is actually doing it and not faking it. So that's probably good, right? Action breeds, reaction. Change your internal perspective. Yeah. And changing your self-talk. Manifest your own magnificent. I must say probably that if we maybe do two more questions and we'll wrap it up. So maybe the most nervous, maybe Marshall, what's your most nervous time on stage?
Oh, just before I go on.
Oh, right. So it's consistent.
Just about 1 minute before I walk on. I'm hoping all my faculties will be synced.
Okay. And Rob?
Yeah.
Faculties.
Do you know what it is? It's any gig that has friends and family in the audience.
Oh,
playing to strangers is no issue.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you don't feel the judgment. You don't feel I won't say you don't care if they're disappointed or not, but it has less of an effect on you. You probably don't think about it. But when the audience is full of friends and family, there seems to be this added pressure of, okay, man, I got to be on. Everything's got to be right. It's because I got to see these people every day, and if I suck, they're going to let me know. So that's when I'm the most nervous.
So that's called. So sorry, I was just going to say what that's called, or how I teach it. It's called inner circle fear, because like people in your inner circle, and the outer circle fear doesn't really exist. That's how I describe it. But sorry, keep going. Oh, this one.
Yeah, I think the only other time is when I've been lucky enough to do some supports for some of my heroes, and that has been seriously nerve-wracking. And yeah, you just, because you're dealing with someone else's fans, you're going out there as a fan of that person and putting yourself out there in your own music and your own songs. That's also an extremely nerve-wracking thing to do. So yeah, they're probably my two big ones.
Yeah.
And Jane?
I remember one occasion where I'd been really sick and I'd been hired to sing at someone's wedding, which was including the song that the bride was walking down the aisle to. And
Oh, wow.
I was sick with a cough, one of those coughs that just keeps coming, doesn't stop. And I literally had the tub of honey next to me, crossing my fingers, really hoping that I wasn't going to start coughing through this song while she's walking down the aisle, which I didn't, thankfully, but it makes you very nervous because it's something you can't control.
Wow. I remember, I got two nervous stories. One was I was doing, working with a corporate band called Lush, I think it was. And we were playing for Miss Australia, and I think we were in Bundaberg, I think. And anyway, they were all backstage. I was doing a dep job. They all worked on stage. And just as I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, I went to walk on stage, and the door was locked. I was like, are you serious? Because I was doing the opening solo. So the band started. I've panicked. I had my guitar. So I had to run out of the back of the venue and run right round the outside and come to security. And they're like, hey, mate. So I literally ducked security. I bolted. So I don't recommend that at home. So I've ducked. Two security started following me, and then two other mates started following me. I had four guys chasing me while I had a guitar. And I'm running down the middle of this event, and because it was a seated event, I'm the only one that's standing, right? So it was really embarrassing. And then they've got, televised thing on the band, and the camera comes on to me, and there's me running down the middle with four dudes chasing me. And I've just gone side of stage. And I can't remember the song they were playing, some Latin. As soon as I got on stage, plugged it in, bang, couldn't have timed it anymore, and the whole place erupted. They all thought it was part of the show. Oh, that's so cool, man. You had people chasing you and everything. It's so that was very nervous because I thought I was going to get bashed. However, and the other nervous one was playing in front of all my heroes, like Tom Morello and Nuno. This only just happened in January, the rock and roll royalty in the front row, wow, this is it. So I just let him have it. And, about it being imposter syndrome, the biggest, sort of embrace, and I'm glad Rob said this before, was learning how to take compliments, and I'm still struggling with that today. And as all of you see me play before, I actually practice a lot. That's a true story. But actually them saying, hey, I'm a fan of what you do, it just didn't really make sense. But anyway, I'm still trying to make that sink in. But anyway, that was a long-winded story. But last question, round table, is what advice could you pass on? So maybe through business and through music. And Marshall, if you want to go first.
What was the question again?
What advice can you pass on to other people, young people coming into the music business, or even because I know you've got a great business background as well. So maybe
just do your due diligence. Look who's successful, and then model it. And take what you can from that, and then put it all together, and put your personality together as well. But see what works. But I think the key thing, especially with management and stuff, is to be yourself. You can't be anyone else. You've got to be yourself, because the pardon the expression, but the BS filter will be straight on to the people you're talking to. So you have to be yourself and be confident in what you are selling or representing. But I found when I first started in managing was Captain Google was fantastic, and and also I had a couple of really great mentors in some big companies who gave me some good advice. When I just thought I was smashing my head against the wall, wondering why it's not happening.
Wow, and I like the word you just used, mentors, because I think that's a pretty unused way, because these days it's just Google, but I think there's a lot to be said, the human factor, when you hang around like-minded people, you know.
Well,
who
they
try
know
and
your
push this.
personality, and so they can deliver the advice a lot better to you. You know?
Interesting. And Rob, what do you think about that? Some advice?
I think that's, you got to be honest, be you, but know what you want to do, and don't rely on other people. So I found in my sort of journey through this, and I hate using that word, it's so overused.
Good name for a band, mate.
Yeah, don't stop believing, man. Don't stop believing. There's that wheel in the sky, man. Don't stop believing.
No, we're going to vomit.
All right, that's all right. I'll take it with open arms, mate. Anyway, I know too many Journey songs.
He's too quick. It's too quick.
The thing that I found was there's a lot of closed shops out there. Janie could probably speak to this. It's a very cliquey, closed, especially in Sydney. It's very difficult to get into the corporate work, no matter how busy a band we were. 200 shows a year. It was really hard to break into that. So I just didn't worry about it. I just did my own thing. I knew what I wanted to do, what I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to play rooms. I wanted to work out how to get into them. Take a look at the bands, make sure that you fit the brief of those places before going after them, but just do it yourself. You know, you can't really rely on other people. I missed so many opportunities from being busy, and I have no regrets for that, you know, because that was just how I set myself up, and you have to be okay with that. But it's better to be busy and working than sitting there waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah. And Janie, what about yourself, about, you know, music and business? Any advice? And
Well, I agree with what both Marshall and Rob have said. I agree with everything they said. I think what I would say is make sure you're doing something you enjoy, because when you've done it enough times, there will be the unenjoyable gigs as well. So
right.
that you already started that way, then you're only heading for trouble. So as much as it is important to fit in with what the clients want and what the agents want and what's going to suit the venues and events, you still have to have elements in there that you really enjoy, or at least the company of fellow musicians that you enjoy, which was really always very important to me, because you spend so much time together. You're there sitting in green rooms for hours and hours, particularly with corporate stuff. So, you know, you don't want to get to the end of it all and look back and not have had a good time.
Right. And, you know, I just thought of one more question. It's just a yes, no answer. To mentor or not to mentor, and if I just explain it, those people watching, I like what Janie just said. You have to love it, because you can't just love the good bits. So with learning music, as a music teacher, when you watch a YouTube clip, you might be able to do the thing technically, but you can't learn how it feels. And then what I learned around, what blew my mind, hanging around like-minded musicians, and I'm just going to say Nuno Betancourt. Yeah, cool, name dropped. But yeah, I know Rob really loves him. What blew my mind is that guy exudes music all the time. There's no off switch. We were in the, this, 5-star hotel, and there's a grand piano, and he just like starts busting out all these classical chops, or he's singing, or he just hangs with whoever, and just like, at first, of course, just checking if it's the real deal, but when you can't keep that facade up for 4 or 5 hours, So the truth is, I didn't go to bed that night, but to look at the mentor, to absorb the people for who they are. So my question is, do you, so Marshall, you maybe want to get, I can't even point, there we go. To mentor or not to mentor? So it's hanging around like-minded people.
Definitely hang around like-minded people. You know,
Absolutely.
when you're down or lower percentage of your creativity, they keep you running. You know, all the time. You don't have to rely on them, but it's a great backbone for sure. You know,
Because
I've always sorry.
similar vibrations.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean that's the thing, and it makes you also creative all the time, and it's challenging yourself because you're looking at you're bouncing off each other and things like that. If especially with now, I mean, what you're doing is absolutely fantastic, and getting Rob and Janie and people on because it's
Thank you,
keeping
sir.
it's keeping that creativity happening. And otherwise, we're
Mm.
just going to sink and go, oh no, oh no, oh no, you know, no matter what's happening. And I think that's the thing, you know, we're all like-minded, which is good. But yeah, you've got to hang around with like-minded people. It just keeps motivating you and pushing you all the time. You know? I
Cool.
hope that's an
Thanks.
answer.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. And Rob, well, Rob, still haven't got
Yeah.
that down yet.
It's very important to have a sounding board. You know, mentors are great because they're also the trick to being a great mentor is being a great listener as well. So all the mentors that I've had, they're like a sounding board. You can tell them something and they'll listen, and then they'll give you their experience, like their advice based on their experience. But also remember that it's their experience and yours could be very different. So you need to have an element of being able of good decision making yourself and what's right and wrong and morals, whatever you want to call it. But it's just so important to have people around that can understand and communicate, give you the best advice based on their circumstances. Gets you out of a lot of trouble.
Yeah, right. Thank you for that. And before Janie, you do the last point. This is going to bury you for a second. So, you worked hard to earn those compliments, embrace and enjoy them. It gets easier. Then he eventually becomes habit to accept compliments graciously.
Easy for
Thank
you
you
to say.
all. Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you all so much for sharing so openly and honestly. You've answered the big questions everyone has but are afraid to ask, and that many with the experience shy away from answering so thoroughly. You'll be inspiring so many people just from this one chat. Very informative, much appreciated. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you. And so,
Thank you. Thank you.
and last point, Janie, to mentor or not to mentor?
That is the question. I would say yes and no because it depends. I don't think it's a black and white answer. And when Marsha was talking about like-minded people, I agree with that. But I also think it's really important to be around people that are accomplishing the things that you haven't yet, that you're striving for, where you want to be. So, you know, you can learn from everything around you, everything. You can be a sponge. Just take it all in, the good, the bad, and the ugly. However, don't spend a lot of time with the negative people or the people that bring you down. That's what I would say.
The dream crushers.
Yeah. Oh,
Dream.
and just the general vibe, like, you know, be around people that keep you motivated because without the motivation, nothing gets done.
Oh, I think that's well said. And I've just remembered to put your website on in the last 10 seconds. So this weekend. Yeah. Sorry, my one trick had one job, and I've only just remembered.
One job.
Well, if my guest can stay on the line for a second, I'm just going to pull you for a sec. And so don't hang up, Janie. Don't touch anything.
All right.
Don't touch it. Okay, cool. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming on. And
Thanks, Doug.
no problem. Just hang on the line. Here we go. And thank you again. Please like and subscribe Doug DeJong on YouTube. So that's youtube.com/Doug DeJong. And also Doug DeJong Music. I need some friends. And also don't forget to like and subscribe all these people as I'll leave their comments in the feed. Thank you for watching. See you again next time.